Because
Maybe later on em có thể chia sẻ thì chúng bảo xem.
Yeah, because it's not. It'll take twice as long if we.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, the dark is much more connected to, but essentially you're still afraid of like some existential threat. You're afraid of death, and that's much more closely related to like the dark than let's say, or ghosts in the dark feel like kind of the same fear, because do you see ghosts or do you just imagine them?
Chưa bao giờ thấy chị cha.
You've never seen a ghost. Yeah, so it's
Mỗi lần mà thấy bóng tối là mình tưởng tượng là ở trong đó có nhiều người, không phải là
Mình nhỏ có ai kể cho nghe.
It imagine, yeah.
So
She,
when she was young, nhiều quá, she a lot of people tell her about this.
yeah.
That's why she recorded.
Right. Yeah, you kind of have an imagination. So like, yeah, I mean, in Buddhist metaphysical understanding of the world, we very much believes in ghosts, but also most people that can see ghosts aren't afraid of them because they're not actually that threatening. Like they might be just like people are, they might be going through their own agitation or attachments or fear. They might be, they're just kind of stuck here because they got attached to this house or to this person or to this land, and so they aren't able to progress up to heaven, when they haven't necessarily done sufficient bad things to be dragged down to hell. And so they're just still here, like stuck doing the same things, hanging out, going to the bathroom, just stuck in this in-between state. And so most of the time when people see ghosts, they're not afraid of them. It's mostly the people that don't know what ghosts are. And so in this absence of information, they're scared of this other being that's going to harm. Of course, there are other spiritual beings, again, in the panorama of Buddhist metaphysical thought, that are more like negative and harmful. And so it's actually kind of appropriate to be somewhat scared of those, or at least like recognize like, okay, this is a bad being. But, and so there's on one hand, like, okay, how do you actually interact with negative beings if one has actual direct experience with them? But then there's the fear of the unknown, which is really a different fear. Regardless of which of those that you're going to face, there's some like spiritual prerequisites to being able to purify oneself, develop a sense of inner strength, develop a sense of spiritual energy and purity and resilience and strength and grounding. And that starts with acts of generosity, that starts with acts of things like faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. They create that spiritual power, and also living a moral life. So fundamentally, those two sides of the same coin are what give you spiritual power. So acts of generosity, you're giving, you're serving, you're speaking kind words, you're trying to help people whenever possible in ways seen and unseen. You're going through life with an intention of, I wish you well. Not attachment, not like holding on to people, not like worrying about them, but just, I wish you well regardless of whether you're nice to me, you're not nice to me, you're around me, you're far from me. Like it has nothing to do with attachment. It's just selflessly, I wish you well, without wanting anything for myself, other than the joy of giving, the joy of well-wishing. Because it makes you feel happy if you're just like serving people without expecting anything in return. Not wanting to control them, not wanting to manage them, not wanting them to be nice to you in return, just wishing well. So any type of act of that category where it's motivated by that intention is always going to be giving you spiritual power. The more you just go through the world like wishing people well, no strings attached, and taking whatever acts feel natural and useful and from that intention are going to be making you feel good. And the more you do that, because that goodness that you feel is much more enduring than any temporary goodness that you feel from, let's say, somebody saying something nice about you or getting what you want or material things, that the more you do good, the more you have this enduring sense of of happiness and peace and spiritual energy. And the more you don't do bad, so you don't kill any living being, you don't steal, you don't have wrong action sexually, you don't speak lies, you don't speak divisively, you don't speak coarsely or harshly or vulgarly, you don't speak uselessly, you just try to not harm anyone in your words of or your actions or your speech, and you don't actually take any actions based in hostility, based in greed. The more pure you are at the level of body, speech, and mind, so you've purified all of those levels of your body, you're not doing any conscious harm, intentionally harming other beings. And in your speech, you're not like either harming people through your speech, trying to divide them as opposed to bring people together, or speak like coarsely, vulgarly around them, or speak uselessly. The more pure you are, you're not creating any bad karma, and you're only creating good karma. So inside you feel stronger and stronger and stronger. So sometimes if you have done bad things in the past, even in past lives, and you haven't done a lot of good in this life, then we feel kind of spiritually weak. Like the bad that we've done makes us feel like hurting inside and broken inside, and like it's like there's a wedge in our consciousness, and it hurts. And so when we feel weak inside, we feel very vulnerable naturally, and so we have a lot of fear of everything. And whether it's the dark or there's or ghosts or anything, it's just like, or dogs or whatever. It can be anything, because when we feel very weak and vulnerable and not strong, then we feel like any challenge, any difficulty, any pain is too much for me to bear. And so the first step in the long-term battle of trying to come out of fear, of not just the dark and ghost, but all of fear, is trying to develop a wholesome basis, where you're only doing good, you're not doing the bad, and bit by bit, and it takes some time. It could take a week, a year, 10 years, but the more pure you are, the more you're only sowing seeds that are going to give you like experiences of balance, of peace, of strength, of resilience. And then you don't know what history you have, so you don't know how many bad things we did in our past lives, and so that's going to be what determines how long you need to feel bad before the good starts to outweigh the bad, and you start to feel more balanced and stronger and more peaceful. And so you just try to be very patient with that process of like, instead of focusing your mind on the dark or the ghosts, the things that are giving you fear, focus your awareness on the experience of pain. Because underlying that fear is like some pain that we're either experiencing or avoiding. Like we've experienced in the past, and I don't want to go back there. So I'm going to do everything I can to not go back there. And so, but the only way through that pain is to open it up and start to feel it. And so if you can open it up and start to feel like whatever that, like the fear is trying to prevent me from experience something that was overwhelming for me in the past. And so you want to give it space, and meditation is kind of what does give you space to experience. And meditation is, one of the core meditation objects that the Buddha wants us to work through is observing the breath, observing the body, observing feeling, observing what's going on in our consciousness. And so as the mind gets more subtle and we sort of pay attention to what's going on in our breath and what's going on in our body and what's going on in our feelings and what's going on in our consciousness, we're putting our attention on our body in various forms, and our feeling and our consciousness. And so we're sort of giving space for those old pain or like fears to arise, and fears trying to push something away, and we're just like, no, I need to experience this. And then it's being lived out in the body or feeling somewhere. So you're just patient, and as fear kind of comes up, you're just constantly trying to like calm, relax, calm. And that's really that's the process. The first step is really, normally fear is, the first step is not doing everything your fear is telling you to do. It doesn't mean that you do everything that fear is trying to keep you to stop, but like stop impulsively listening to your fear. So your fear is like, no, that's dark, I don't want to go there. And then it's good to have like another voice in your head to be like, okay, now I'm really scared. Let me try to evaluate whether going to the dark is actually dangerous here. And if it's in your house and nothing's ever happened in that room in your house when it's dark, then you can kind of start to coach your consciousness to be like, okay, this is my house, I live here, nothing's ever happened to me in the dark in that room. I don't think that fear is actually rational. And so you can kind of just take, every time your fear comes up in any situation, you can just try to take a step back and ask yourself, like, is this a good, is fear reacting to an actual danger? Or is it just a habitual reaction of avoiding anything I can't control? And if it's avoiding anything you can't control, then it's like, well, that's a part of life. Then things are impermanent. Like, I can't control the world, I can't control other beings, I can't control the world, like, much of anything in the world. I can only control myself. And so you coach yourself to, like, try to, every time you notice fear, to like take a step back and try to move out of the fear and ask yourself, like, okay, is this fear rational or is it irrational? If your fear is like telling you like, oh yeah, don't run out into traffic, then it's okay, don't run out into traffic. It doesn't mean you have to do everything your fear tells you not to do. But you want to develop a different perspective, a like voice that comes from outside your fear, that comes from kindness, that comes from compassion, that comes from happiness, that comes from just objectively observing the situation. And so the more you can kind of see your fear from a third person perspective, the more you can kind of let it calm. And a good way of doing that is directing your awareness to your breath, to your body, because a lot of times your fear is being lived out as your body. When you get scared, your body tends to tense up. And when you can notice, oh, my body is tense, I'm gonna relax. It's like, oh yeah, my shoulders are tense, I'm gonna relax. Okay, my chest is tense, like I'm protecting, I'm gonna relax. And then slowly but surely, because this is what our mind does. It's like our mind gets scared, or our consciousness gets scared, and then it like wants to hold on and protect because it feels like danger. The fear fundamentally is like a response to danger, so it's like on guard. But when you realize, like when you intellectually realize, like, okay, there's not actually any danger, or the likelihood that there's a danger is extremely small, then you can kind of move into like, I'm trying to coach yourself out of that fear physically. The more you can focus your mind on your breath, and it's going to take some time, your fear. No, I want to focus on my breath. The fear isn't rational. I don't really need to follow that. And then the fear, when your mind is fearful, your breath's going to be a little more agitated. It's going to, and then as you watch your breath, you can watch your breath just slowly as you just are able to observe your breath. Watch your mind calm. And until your breath's more normal, and then you can feel your body and see wherever the fear is being lived out in your body, and it's like, oh yeah, my shoulders are really tense here, and okay, I'm gonna relax my shoulders, and my like hips are really tense, and like, okay, I'm gonna relax, and my torso is really tense, or like I'm holding my tension in my stomach, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna relax my stomach. And so bit by bit, you can kind of work through all the way through your body. Or if you can just focus on your breath until your mind is calm, and then you can just kind of scan all the way through the body. And as you're scanning all the way through the body, you can just sort of check to see, like, okay, is there any tension here? Is there any tension here? You can scan. You can scan like slowly or quickly. If your mind's very subtle, it can kind of, in one breath, just sort of scan all the way through the body. But if you're still really tense, sometimes your mind isn't so subtle, and you can just target the points of tension and just like consciously react. Okay, my jaw's really tense, my forehead's really tense, my cheeks are really tense, my neck is really tense. And then bit by bit, you're sort of working through like where anywhere you're holding anything on in the body, and just bit by bit relax and relax and relax and relax. And as when your body is fully relaxed, then it's one part of the cycle. You might still be scared, but the bodies might be relaxed. But like what happens a lot of times is like we get scared because there's some historical experience or trauma or fear, and so we tense up, and then the tension in our body is giving the signal to our consciousness that like, oh, we're on defense, there's danger, and so it gets even more scared. So when you can remove one aspect of that fear, of the physical aspect, then the consciousness is much easier to calm, because it's not a feedback cycle of like your consciousness gets scared and your body tenses up, and your body tenses up and your consciousness gets even more scared, and then it gets even more scared, and you get in this sort of cycle of fear and tension. And so if you can kind of work with the physical aspect of it, and you can kind of work with the mental aspect of it, of reasoning like, okay, is this actually a rational fear, or is there some danger here, or is there not really any fundamental danger? Like those are the two initial like approaches to coming out of fear. And then once you are calm and you're out of fear at this point, you can kind of go back and ask yourself like, okay, what's going on? What happened? And like, why am I afraid of ghosts? And especially when you've done that first work of like being really kind and had a really good moral standard. Because when you have that moral standard, you have the spiritual energy. You actually can face all those dangers. If you've done a lot of bad things, of course, there's going to be a lot of people angry at you and trying to hurt you. So like, there's going to be a lot of justified danger from all the people that you've harmed. If you've done no harm, and you've helped lots and lots of people or beings of any kind, then internally there's a part of you knows, like, I haven't hurt anybody. Why would anybody hurt me? Like, even the ghosts, like, I haven't done anything to them. Why would they be bothering me? Even if like there's some insane animal or person or ghost that wants to kill me, like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, they're going to end up in jail pretty soon. Like that like nobody's going to want that person around. Like your own purity helps you, because even if you look at like people that are insane and kill people, they're usually only killing the people that have harmed them, or occasionally people that have something that they want. Generally, they're not killing the purest people that haven't harmed anyone, that have gone through their life like only trying to help and serve and be kind. It's not impossible, like, you never know, but it's also, the more your own sense of purity has developed, the more like no one has any reason to want to harm you, but also B, the more you have this inner fountain of joy and pleasure and peace inside yourself, and the more you can start to realize like this body is just kind of a shell. Like, you already have this opening to a spiritual dimension that's kind of characterized by that kindness and by that compassion and by that happiness and by that objective observation and the peace and the joy and the pleasure that comes from it. And so because you have a sense of happiness and peace and joy and freedom that comes from like good things and from those good qualities, then there's no reason to hang on to the body. There's no reason to chase the pleasures of the body anymore. And so when the body is painful, or when somebody threatens the body with physical harm, there's not as much fear, because it's like, like, okay, well, yeah, this body's going to get old anyway. Like, it's going to age and sicken and die, and it hurts. And even if it gets, if I die, it's just part of the nature, because that reality of the painfulness that our bodies are built to experience becomes more tolerable, because we have this other source of spiritual happiness and peace and joy. And so we don't need the pleasure of the body anymore. We don't need to keep going back to like whatever keeps us safe physically and whatever gives us sense pleasures. And so bit by bit, we can kind of look at the body and the pain of the body and understand, okay, this is it's just part of the deal. Like, it just gets old and sickens and dies, and it's not really mine. It's just a piece of earth and water, and it's going to go back to earth and liquid. And it's only a matter of time, so I might as well stop identifying with it now. And so bit by bit, you just start realizing, like, the body's not really mine. It's not really under my control. It's going to live for 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years, and then it's going to die. And that's just part of the deal. You get born, you die, and that all becomes understandable and acceptable, and because you know you have a source of happiness and peace that doesn't depend on the body. And the more you have that basis and stability, you can even start letting go of, like, the feelings, the reactions, like the feeling of fear, the impulse that gets you pulled into, like, things and hating other things and fearful of other things and avoidant of other things. Like, these impulses as well as the feeling, you just see it all as a arising and passing away phenomenon. And it's all built on that stability, that objective observation. As soon as you can kind of move out of the fear and move into the aligned, balanced states, then you're moving into that, like, a balanced perspective to see the impermanence of it. You can see that it's not really you. You can see that it's just an agitated state that you don't need to keep following and buying into. And so bit by bit, and eventually you can even see sight, sound, smells, taste, touch, just the perception of seeing, perception of hearing, perception of smelling, perception of tasting, perception of touching, perception of mind. Like, you can see all of these bare experiences as these are just flickering, arising, and passing away phenomena. And bit by bit, let go of these things. And anything, the habits of the mind is the ego keeps wanting to grab onto something. Okay, I'm not the body, then I'm feeling. If not the feeling, then I'm these ideas. I'm not these ideas, then I'm these reactions. I'm not these reactions, then I'm these perceptions. And so it keeps bouncing around, trying to hold on to something that's me. And anything you hold on to, you realize, like, no, this thing is just arising and passing away. It's not really me. And so bit by bit, you let go. You let go. And one of those things was, like, this fundamental tendency to try to hold on to my own existence, that the dark, or that ghosts, the concept of the dark, the concept of ghosts, was provoking. Like, it was kind of stimulating that fear of, like, I was holding on to something. But the more you let go of those things, the more you experience this sense of release, this experience of freedom, where you're not those things, and you don't go back to thinking that they are. Like, there's still the impulse to hold on to something, but every time you look at that thing, physical, emotional, feeling, recognition, perception, the more you see, like, it's just an impermanent phenomenon. It's not really me, it's not really mine, it's just this burning up experience, this flickering experience. And so the more you let go, the more you're free of that attachment. Of course, there's old habits, and it takes a lot of time and practice and moment to moment seeing of that. But bit by bit, you start to let go. And when you let go completely, then there's no fear left. If you're not holding on to anything, then there's no fear. There's not any sense that any of those things are you, any of those experiences are you. And so you're more and more just can go through the life fearless, without holding on to anything. And so that's a brief description of how to deal with it.
Yeah, so actually I asked this question to you when you are morning here. It's really helped me, because I told you I'm really scared of ghosts and dogs.
Yeah.
And then when Bente stay in my house, I say, so your role model, you're living, that helped me to overcome those 50%.
Yeah.
And then when you left, and you didn't want to hang, and then I asked you to again. I say, how do I overcome the fear? And then you told me, you sent me today, you say you mentioned that doing good thing and wisdom well. And I say, why I have to scare when I don't do anything wrong?
Yeah.
And then earlier you mentioned about you have two voices. One voice you scare, one voice you have to say like something to help you, right?
Yeah.
So I did that, and it was you already also told me that time too. So I did try that. I say, it's not goes only one room. It can be anywhere. So I turned the second voice myself. So it helped me. So I tried to play around with my mind. So your advice really like helped me so much. And then last time it helped me so much when I see you in the forest by yourself. Before I see you so beautiful, like it's still light. So why I like so beautiful, like wow, when they staying there and just meditate so peaceful, and I feel so good and so happy. And then when we were talking, time come and then wow, it's going to get dark right now. So I'm starting a little fear coming up. See, but he had no light around, and he not even scared. Why? I'm playing around myself too. So that second voice helped me to say, Bente is not. So your living experience and show me that now I feel like I walk around my house at night time. Don't have to, I'm still like, dogs still there because you say maybe you have deep, the fear is deep inside, that it's hard to say not gonna go. It takes time, but it helped a lot when you told me how you do a lot of good things. You're gonna do, there's nothing to worry, not gonna harm you. So it's remind me, why I have to scare dog? Like things like that. So your teaching, your living, it helped me a lot. So I told her yesterday too. That's how I experienced from your role model, and then you're teaching me. It is, I understand that, but it's actually nobody remind me those things. And then when you tell me all these things, it helped me to open up myself more. I'm doing good thing now. Why I have to worry about people harm me? And when you say, if you don't steal, people not gonna steal you back. If you don't lie, people don't lie you. So those things I put into my practice, and I feel it's work. And I experience, it's not only I understand, but I experience that. So I will explain to her later on in Vietnamese.
Maybe she will sell her house and she go to the forest that time. She got everything right now,
So and there's a time when Ngọc told me that there are a lot of people in the forest, and none too live in the forest. I never heard it before. But he said, yes, some people live in forest. So they don't have a lot of light. So why we are here, live in the light, it's still fear. So I asked myself that question.
And I think, part of it's like just what you said of like just knowing it's possible and knowing people do it and nothing happens to them. Just knowing it's possible like opens a good, it's like, okay, that person did it, so I can do it in principle. I just need to figure out how to do it. And so it's like once you know it's possible, then you can kind of start to be like, okay, how do you do it? Go into the dark and not be scared. And then another aspect which it does kind of help, which is, I don't know, for people who can't see ghosts, that they're just like people. They have their issues, they're attached to things. But what people who can't see ghosts like usually do to help them on their way is to the same like I would do. I would talk about like to the person, it would be like talk about what's wholesome, talk about what's unwholesome, develop good qualities, remind them okay, yeah, you can do good qualities too, and you can be kind, and you can be compassionate. And because they're sort of more in the spiritual plane, they're sort of halfway in between, like here and the more connected to the spiritual plane because they've given up their bodies already or lost their body. That you just sort of can open up a direction of purity through your own purity. You can just, or through someone else's purity, through your faith in Amitabha or Guanyin or whoever. Or Jesus, or just any being that's gotten to is in heaven and needs to be a reminder, and that person has faith in, and you call upon that person that they want to go. There was a very funny story that a nun told me one time, that this ghost was bothering her, and she was very psychic. So this ghost was bothering her, and was and she was at some point she was kept brushing him off and pushing him off, and then finally, due to over the course, he kept bothering her. So he was like, okay, what's going on? And eventually she had faith in Amitabha, so she sent him on to the Pure Land, and then he came back. He was like, it's weird. Well, there's a bunch of stuff going on there. And I'm Catholic. Everybody's doing different things that weren't really that Catholic. So she was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I suppose we can send you to Christian. So she called upon Jesus, and she directed him up to heaven, and he was much more happy there.
Okay.
Như vậy là xưa mà cô sợ thiệt, sợ cái sau cái bớt sợ đó, cái lâu sợ. Cái khi mà cô sợ lên cái cô nói ma tôi nhát lắm nha, đừng cho tôi thấy, nếu mà ma có đây đừng cho tôi thấy, tôi nhát lắm mà. Thôi tu đi, tôi tu ma cũng tu đi nha, tôi niệm Phật niệm theo tôi đi. Cái mình nó niệm Nam Mô Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa, tức là tán thán Đức Phật đó. Rồi cái cô mới xin với Đức Phật, cô nói cái câu này là tán thán Đức Phật, nhưng mà Phật cho con khi con niệm lên cho cái tâm con yên, dù ở bất cứ chỗ nào, dù ở bất cứ cái chỗ đó là nó ô uế hay là nó dơ giấy đó.
I'm gonna try to just summarize. She said that there's times when she's scared and then she's not scared anymore, and then sometimes she's scared. So she said to herself, if I'm scared, I will chanting Amitabha, and then you will chant like me to go with Amitabha, like you earlier the story. And then but she trying to imagine if she chanting can help her, calm her down, to feeling like if I do good, if I chanting good, you also follow with me with goodness, with goodness. Like if she going to if she chanting, which means I want you to change you that way. We can go the same. Like wishing well. I wish you well. You're gonna go heaven or go Amitabha with me. But I'm chanting, so she always have that thing to help her overcome fear. But still, it's not solving the root problem like you earlier. So, like you said earlier, you have to feel, you have to open up your pain and feel it and experience it, and then you feel, the body is impermanent. Anyway, you're gonna die. So think like that, it will slowly. It helped me too.